The night was quiet, and the city lights flickered like scattered stars against the darkness. In the tallest penthouse of the city's skyline lived Alexander Knight, one of the wealthiest men in the country. To the world, he was the cold, untouchable billionaire whose empire stretched across hotels, airlines, and technology. His life looked perfect: mansions, cars, and endless luxuries. But those who worked close to him knew something else. Alexander was a man with trust issues so deep that even his wealth could not cure them. It wasn't money that made him restless. It was betrayal. Years ago, when Alexander was younger, naive, and still building his empire, he had fallen in love with someone who only loved his wealth. She left him the moment his business faced a temporary downfall. Since then, he believed everyone, friends, lovers, and even his staff, stayed around him only because of his money. That's why, despite having an army of servants, bodyguards, and assistants, Alexander trusted no one. But then came Elena. She was a quiet, humble young woman in her late 20s who had joined his mansion as a maid. Unlike the others, Elena never tried to flatter him, never asked for favors, and never acted as if his billions impressed her. She worked hard, always kept to herself, and whenever Alexander saw her, she had an aura of dignity, despite wearing the plain uniform of a housemaid. Something about her presence disturbed him, yet calmed him too. For months, Alexander watched her quietly. He noticed how she always sent part of her salary to someone back home, how she never complained no matter how long the hours were, and how she treated every corner of the mansion with care, as if it were her own home. Unlike other staff who whispered about his money, Elena never spoke a word about his wealth. And so, a thought struck Alexander one evening: could there still be a person who would treat him with respect even if he had nothing? That night, in his cold, glass-walled penthouse, Alexander hatched a plan. He would pretend to be drunk. He would let his guard down, slur his words, stumble like a helpless man, and act vulnerable, something he never showed anyone. Then, he would see how Elena reacted. Would she mock him? Would she take advantage? Or, would she show the loyalty and kindness he had been searching for all his life? It was nearly midnight when he walked into the mansion after a business event. The staff quickly rushed to greet him, but he waved them away. Only Elena remained in the hall, quietly cleaning a vase. Alexander loosened his tie, staggered a little too dramatically, and mumbled, "Where's my room? I can't walk straight." His eyes were half open, his speech broken, as if alcohol had drowned his senses. Elena turned, surprised. She had never seen him like this before. "Sir, are you all right?" she asked softly, concern instantly filling her eyes. Alexander stumbled further, pretending to lose balance, and collapsed onto the sofa. Don't tell anyone," he mumbled, clutching his forehead. I think I had too much tonight." At that moment, Alexander watched her carefully, though his eyelids appeared heavy. Would she smirk at his weakness? Would she take photos to sell to the tabloids? Would she even steal from his pocket while he pretended not to notice? But Elena did none of those things. Instead, she rushed to the kitchen, brought him a glass of water, and gently placed it in his hands. "Here, drink this, sir. It will help." Her voice carried no judgment, no mockery. Only genuine worry. Alexander pretended to drop the glass, testing her again. Without hesitation, Elena caught it before it could shatter on the marble floor. "Careful," she whispered. "Let me help." Slowly, she guided him to sit properly and placed a cushion behind his head. She even brought a wet towel and pressed it gently against his forehead, as if caring for a fragile child. Alexander's chest tightened. He hadn't expected this. Still, he pushed the test further. "Elena," he slurred. What if I wasn't rich? What if I lost everything tomorrow? Would you still stay here?" For the first time, Elena looked directly into his eyes. There was no fear, no hesitation. "Sir," she said softly but firmly, "I work here to earn an honest living. Your money, it's not mine. What matters is respect. And as long as you treat me with respect, I would stay. Even if you weren't a billionaire." Her words cut through him like lightning. No one had ever said that to Alexander before. As he pretended to drift into half-sleep, he felt something inside him stir, an ache he hadn't felt in years. Was she telling the truth? Or was she simply saying what he wanted to hear? That night, Elena covered him with a blanket, switched off the harsh lights, and quietly whispered, "Rest well, sir. Tomorrow will be better." Then she left the room without asking for anything in return. But Alexander did not sleep. His eyes opened slowly in the darkness. His heart pounded in his chest. Was this woman truly different? And yet, he wasn't ready to trust. Not yet. Which is why Alexander decided, this was only the beginning of the test. The real trial was yet to come. The next morning, Daniel returned to the same cafe, almost against his own will. His routine had always been predictable: coffee, newspaper, silence. But now he found himself hoping, almost unconsciously, that Lily would be there again. And she was. She sat at a corner table, her pink dress replaced with a light blue one, her notebook open, crayons scattered across the table. She looked up when she saw Daniel, her face brightening like the sun breaking through clouds. "Hi, Daniel," she greeted cheerfully, waving her small hand. Daniel, who rarely smiled anymore, felt his lips curve slightly. He walked over and sat across from her. "Good morning, Lily. What are you drawing today?" She turned her notebook around to show him. A colorful sketch of a man in a suit sitting at a table with a little girl. Above them, she had drawn a window with raindrops. "That's us," she said proudly. Daniel was speechless. The drawing was simple, yet it carried a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "You made me smile," he said quietly. "That's good," Lily replied. "Mom says smiling makes the heart stronger." From that day on, Daniel and Lily began to meet often. Sometimes by chance, sometimes because Daniel secretly rearranged his schedule just to stop by the cafe. He told himself he was only being polite, that he was just keeping a little girl company. But deep inside, he knew it was more than that. The hospital visit. One afternoon, when Lily didn't appear at the cafe, Daniel felt an odd emptiness. Hours later, as he walked past the bakery, he saw her mother, Sarah, behind the counter. Gathering courage, he entered. "Excuse me," Daniel said softly. "Is Lily all right? I didn't see her today." Sarah looked at him with tired but kind eyes. "She's at the hospital. She had a treatment session today." The words hit Daniel harder than expected. Without hesitation, he asked, "May I visit her?" Sarah was taken aback, unsure of his intentions, but something about his genuine concern convinced her. She gave him the room number. That evening, Daniel walked into the children's ward, his expensive shoes echoing against the linoleum floor. He felt out of place among the colorful murals, stuffed animals, and laughter mixed with coughs. But when he entered Lily's room, her eyes lit up instantly. "Daniel," she exclaimed, her small voice filled with joy. "You came." Daniel's heart softened. "Of course I did." She held up a piece of paper. "I drew something for you." It was a sketch of him holding a bouquet of flowers. He sat by her bed, placing the drawing gently in his briefcase as if it were the most valuable contract he had ever signed. For the next hour, they talked about stars, books, and dreams. Sarah watched quietly from the corner, surprised by how easily her daughter had bonded with this stranger. Quiet acts of kindness. From that day on, Daniel began helping quietly. He covered hospital bills anonymously, sent art supplies to Lily's room, and even arranged for her favorite author to send a signed book. He never announced it, he simply wanted Lily to smile. Sarah noticed. One evening, after Lily had fallen asleep, she approached Daniel in the hallway. "You don't have to do all this," she said gently. "We'll manage somehow." Daniel shook his head. "It's not charity. Lily, she reminds me of someone I loved very much. Being here, it helps me too." Sarah's eyes softened. She didn't know his full story, but she sensed his loneliness. "Thank you," she whispered. The growing bond with Sarah. Over time, Daniel found himself not only drawn to Lily but also to her mother. Sarah was strong, graceful in her struggles, always smiling despite exhaustion. She worked long shifts at the bakery, then spent nights by her daughter's side. One evening, Daniel offered to walk her home after a hospital visit. They strolled through quiet streets under the glow of streetlights. "You must be tired," Daniel said. Sarah chuckled softly. "I'm used to it. A mother's heart doesn't get tired when it's for her child." Her words pierced through him. He had built skyscrapers, signed deals worth millions, yet here was a woman who lived paycheck to paycheck, and she radiated more strength than he ever had. As they walked, Sarah asked gently, "Do you have a family?" Daniel hesitated before replying. I had a wife. She passed away years ago." Sarah's eyes filled with compassion. "I'm sorry. That must have been hard." "It was," Daniel admitted. "And ever since, I buried myself in work. I thought success would fill the emptiness. But it didn't." Sarah nodded, her gaze soft. "Sometimes, the heart needs people, not things." Moments of laughter. Despite her illness, Lily brought laughter wherever she went. One sunny afternoon, Daniel joined her and Sarah at the park. Lily insisted they play a game of drawing in the sand. Daniel, in his expensive suit, found himself kneeling in the dirt, sketching clumsy stars while Lily giggled. "Yours looks like a potato," Lily teased. Daniel laughed, a real, genuine laugh he hadn't heard from himself in years. Sarah watched, smiling quietly. She hadn't seen Lily so happy in a long time. Later that day, as they sat on a bench, Lily rested her head on Daniel's arm. "You know what, Daniel?" she said softly. "What?" "You feel like a guardian angel." Daniel's throat tightened. He glanced at Sarah, who looked back with eyes that said everything words could not. The picture of a family. One evening, Lily showed Daniel another drawing. This time, it was of 3 people holding hands under a rainbow, a man in a suit, a woman in a dress, and a little girl with a big smile. "That's us," Lily said proudly. "You, me, and Mom." Daniel and Sarah exchanged glances, both caught off guard. Neither of them spoke, but deep inside, something had shifted. For Daniel, it was the first time in years he imagined himself part of a family again. For Sarah, it was the first time she saw someone step into their lives with so much love and care. That night, Daniel lay awake in his mansion. For the first time since his wife's passing, the silence didn't feel unbearable. It felt full of possibility. Lily had given him something he thought was lost forever, hope. But life has a way of testing love. A storm was waiting ahead, one that would make Daniel, Sarah, and Lily face their deepest fears. The days rolled into weeks, and soon Daniel's life was no longer defined by board meetings or profit charts. It was measured by Lily's laughter, her stories, and her drawings. But then, one evening, everything changed. The health scare. Daniel arrived at the hospital with a bag of art supplies, ready to surprise Lily. But when he entered her room, he found Sarah by the bed, her face pale with worry. Lily lay still, her breathing shallow, machines quietly beeping around her. "What happened?" Daniel's voice shook. "She collapsed earlier today," Sarah whispered. "The doctors said it's a complication from the treatment. They're trying their best." Daniel's chest tightened painfully. He walked closer, gently holding Lily's fragile hand. Her little fingers curled around his. "Hey, sunshine," he whispered, forcing a smile. "It's me, Daniel. I'm right here." Lily's eyes fluttered open for a moment. Her lips curved faintly. "Don't be sad," she whispered. "Guardian angels, don't cry." Tears threatened to spill, but Daniel nodded firmly. "You're right. I won't cry. Because you're strong. And you're going to keep fighting, okay?" Lily gave a weak nod before drifting back into sleep. Daniel stepped outside, his hands trembling. For years, he had faced billion-dollar risks without fear. But now, watching this little girl fight for her life, he felt helpless. Sarah stood beside him, tears in her eyes. He wanted to comfort her, but words failed. Instead, he simply held her hand. For the first time, she didn't pull away. The confession. That night, Sarah and Daniel sat in the hospital's quiet garden, the stars shining faintly above them. Sarah finally broke the silence. "Why are you doing all this for us?" she asked softly. "You've given so much, and asked for nothing." Daniel looked at her, his voice low and honest. "Because you and Lily gave me something I thought I lost forever. After my wife passed away, I was empty. I thought money could fill the void. But it didn't. Then I met Lily. She brought light into my life again. And you," he paused, searching for words. "You remind me what it feels like to have someone by my side." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, I don't care about wealth or reputation anymore," he continued. "What I care about is this, being here, with you and Lily. If you'll let me, I want to be more than just a visitor in your lives. I want to be family." Sarah was silent for a long moment. Then, With trembling lips, she whispered, "I've been so afraid to hope for more. But when I see Lily smile with you, when I see the way you care, I can't deny it. You've already become part of our family." Daniel's eyes softened, relief washing over him. For the first time in years, his heart felt whole. The turning point. The next morning, Lily's condition improved slightly. The doctors said she had responded well to treatment. Though she still had a long road ahead, the storm had passed. When she woke, Daniel and Sarah were at her side. Lily looked at both of them and smiled weakly. "I had a dream," she said softly. "That we were a family. And we were happy." Daniel kissed her forehead gently. "That wasn't a dream, Lily. That's going to be real." Sarah held her daughter's hand, tears of joy streaming down her face. New beginnings. Weeks later, Lily was finally discharged from the hospital. The three of them walked out together, hand in hand. For once, Daniel wasn't the CEO everyone feared, he was just a man, grateful to hold on to the people he loved. He continued to support Sarah and Lily, not from a place of pity but from love. Sarah eventually left her exhausting bakery shifts, choosing instead to pursue her passion for baking with Daniel's encouragement. Together, they started a small cafe, not grand like Daniel's empire, but warm, filled with laughter, art, and love. Lily decorated the walls with her drawings, rainbows, stars, and pictures of the three of them together. Customers who walked in always felt the joy radiating from the little family that ran the cafe. The proposal. One sunny afternoon, Daniel knelt in the cafe garden where Lily had once drawn stars in the dirt. With Sarah and Lily beside him, he held out a small ring. "Sarah," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "You and Lily have given me back my life. Will you let me spend the rest of mine proving my love to you?" Sarah's hands trembled, her eyes shining with tears. She looked at Lily, who was practically bouncing with excitement. "Say yes, Mom. Say yes." Lily giggled. Sarah laughed through her tears and nodded. "Yes, Daniel. 1,000 times yes." Daniel slipped the ring on her finger, and for the first time in years, his heart felt complete. The family they created. Months later, Daniel, Sarah, and Lily sat at the cafe, enjoying a quiet evening. Lily, now healthier and stronger, drew another picture. This time, it was of a house with a garden, 3 smiling faces, and above it all, a big sun shining down. She handed it to Daniel. "This is our forever home." Daniel hugged her tightly, his voice breaking. "Yes, Lily. Our forever home." Sarah joined the embrace, and in that moment, they weren't just a CEO, a single mother, and a sick little girl. They were a family, bound not by blood, but by love. The moral. Life had taken much from Daniel, his wife, his joy, his reason to smile. But in the simplest of moments, a little girl asking, "Can I sit here?" he found everything he thought he had lost. The true measure of wealth wasn't the money in his bank accounts or the towers with his company's name. It was the love he found in Sarah's smile, the hope he saw in Lily's eyes, and the family they created together. And so, the man who once sat alone in a coffee shop, drowning in loneliness, finally discovered the richest truth of all. Happiness is not found in possessions, but in the hearts we choose to love.